Welcome into Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern. I'm a certified G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. He's playing his Jordan flu game today. He doesn't sound good, but he's making good picks today, and you can't teach that. Bada boom. Man of the people in the room. NFL is back, and the Lions are 1-0, and Patrick Mahomes leads the league in interceptions, Grant. Boom.
Yeah, Tanner was right on all accounts, except for the prop. You had Amon-Ra over, but you did have the Lions. What?
Amon-Ra had freaking 67 yards. He had 71 yards going in the fourth quarter. You can't catch one football for me. Come on.
Tanner, you did better than I did. I went 0-3. I had the over on Jahmyr Gibbs receiving yards. It's another catastrophe that he didn't get more snaps. He was probably the Lions' best offensive player aside from Jared Goff. I mean, the fact David Montgomery was hogging the snaps, I mean, just blew my mind. And then the Chiefs, we were talking about this off camera. The Chiefs 1,000,000% should have won that game. Whether or not they should have covered, we can have that debate. But you look at it, the Lions score 7 points in the first half, and the Chiefs have the ball driving to start the second half. Ball hits Kadarius Toney in the hands. He drops it. It's a pick six. That's 7 points the Lions probably shouldn't have gotten. And then, of course, the big drop was like a 20-yard gain in the fourth quarter. So the Chiefs should have had a much clearer path to a cover. But also credit to the Lions, though. I was wrong about them. I thought their immaturity, their youth was going to show. I thought the expectations were too high, and they lived up to them on the road. And that Lions crowd turned out as well, which was impressive.
I have a few issues with how Dan Campbell coached the game. I love Dan Campbell. I think his quote after the game, he didn't learn anything. He was just validated on what he already knew. I thought that was a great quote. But the problem with him is why aren't you playing Jahmyr Gibbs? We all drafted Jahmyr Gibbs so high for fantasy football. We're all high on the Jahmyr Gibbs hype train. His passing receiving yards was at 31.5. His rushing yards was, I don't know what it is. I think he did hit the rushing yards because he had 40 something. But why aren't you playing? He's so much more explosive than David Montgomery. It's not even close. So
every time you touch the ball, damn near something good happened.
Yeah. It's funny, Grant. I did tell you on that receiving yards bet. And when he had the back-to-back receptions, I'm like, okay, we're good here. We're starting to cook. He's going the half with 16 receiving yards. He's 31.5. And then they ran the play on fourth down. They were trying to get the ball to him on a quick little screen pass, kind of same thing they did earlier in the game.
Yep.
That was the only other time.
Really well.
They did. That was the only other time they threw the ball to him, though. Come on.
Well, the worst part about it all was they said that they were going to use him in a bunch of unique ways. All he was a traditional backfield running back. They didn't do anything special.
There was nothing unique. I hope they develop him and get him into the mix a little differently. I think they will. It's probably a situation where Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy taking the majority of the carries down the stretch, kind of like we saw with Isaiah Pacheco last year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the biggest sell high kind of running back we saw in fantasy football, and then it turned into the Isaiah Pacheco show. Even him last night, they came out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was starter. He got the majority of the carries, but he only carried the ball, I think, 8 or 9 times. So just not a great game for props. That's week one. That's what it kind of is. We don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. But I thought it was the story of the game, at least. We know who the story of the game. Kadarius Toney. He was awful. He was awful. Awful. He should stay off Twitter for 10 years.
Kadarius Toney bet Chiefs or Lions money line. Had to have. That. He had, I forget his number of targets, but he had 1 catch for 1 yard, a rush for -1 yards. He caused a pick six. I saw a stat after the game that said he had an EPA of -2 point something. So basically, if you threw the ball to him 3 times, the other team would get a touchdown. That's how bad he was.
He was terrible. The pick six was bad. The pick six was the worst drop of the night. The drop down the far sideline on the deep ball, that was a little behind him. Still something you have to catch here in the NFL.
Well, you know what I would say, though? You know why he dropped it? And you probably do know. It was a body catch. He had no confidence because if you're confident, you go out and you snag that thing. He wasn't confident. He let it come into his shoulder.
Yeah, he tried to put it through his hands like this, catch him back instead of just reaching behind and snag it, get the triangle, Grant. The triangle.
Yeah.
That's
like the number one rule of football that everyone learns when they're 5 years old. Triangle up here, pinkies down here.
Yeah. Even though we're talking about the game and they're getting paid millions to do it. But Kadarius Toney, you need to be better, buddy. If you and last thing too, one more thing, just we're talking before the show, how good Patrick Mahomes actually is at creating space and creating time. Not having Travis Kelce made that clear for me last night because I'm watching him make all these plays with his feet, but nobody's there to catch the football, where Travis Kelce is usually the guy coming back to the quarterback and catching the football. So we don't know, we notice the magic a lot, the Mahomes magic. But last night, I think it was just to a different level with Travis Kelce not being out. I noticed it more because nobody was there helping him.
Yeah, 100%. And I said this, off camera as well, but he wasn't only buying time in the pocket, he was creating angles, because if receivers were covered, he wasn't just going to scramble out of the pocket. He was going to weave through like 2 or 3 guys on the line and then throw it sidearm to create a new angle to throw someone open. And I mean, that's what the great quarterbacks do. And we've seen Mahomes take off running, all the time in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, but you don't really see it much in the regular season. So the fact that it was a necessity for him yesterday, just kind of speaks to how bad the Chiefs receivers were. And one last thing, we're getting off of this. We're getting into the picks in a second, but I'm sure you noticed too.
A false start, right?
What?
We got to talk about the false start.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we can talk about that. We can talk about that too. But I was going to talk about Mahomes is the best deep ball thrower in the league. It's not even close. Maybe the best deep ball thrower in the history of the league. And the deep ball was just not there at all yesterday. So I don't know if it was him being off the different page with his receivers, or maybe it just speaks to, again, the receivers just aren't that good. They don't have an ability to track back to the ball or to work back to the quarterback. But if they're not able to throw that ball deep with that, even with Kelce back in there, then this team's going to, they're not going to be as good as they were in years past.
No, the receiver room's terrible though. When you look at it without Kelce, it's MVS, Kadarius Toney, who else?
Sky Moore,
who didn't did Sky Moore even play last night? Was
he
he
had
even
0
on the field?
targets in the first half, I think.
Yeah, and he made a drop one ball or had a bad throw to him. Like he did not even play. I thought he was going to do something special. Like this whole receiver room is really bad. But anyways, the right tackle for the Chiefs,
Jawan Taylor.
The NFL, a lot of people say the NFL is rigged. Okay. And Roger Goodell was talking. I don't know if you watched the pregame show. Yeah. Roger Goodell was talking to Mike Tirico, and Tirico asked him, like, what's your thoughts on gambling in the NFL? He's like, well, we didn't support gambling, but when it came into play, we have to be in gambling. Like, we have to. That's why everyone says the NFL is rigged, because of stuff like that, where they're not calling him being in the back. He wasn't even on the line of scrimmage, and he's doing a false start. And Aiden Hutchinson is still getting to Patrick Mahomes. He is still all over Patrick Mahomes' face. If you put him on the line of scrimmage last night, Aiden Hutchinson would have had 15 and a half sacks.
Aiden Hutchinson was unreal yesterday. Like, he deserved at least 3 sacks. He was torturing that Chiefs line.
How did the ref not call? Like, you are the best of the best. You're an NFL referee, and you are not calling him being not offsides, whatever, man the backfield. They don't have 7 on the line of scrimmage, or the false start. He's like moving the whole damn time too. He kick slides, and he is in the backfield before the ball has left the center's hand. That is why people say the NFL is rigged, because that should have been called all night long. They should at least told him to move up and gave him a warning. Like, what?
Yeah, it was like he was in a rocking chair. He was just constantly it's how defenders try to jump the snap. It was like he was jumping his own snap so that Aiden Hutchinson couldn't run back. It was just, at the end of the game, Chris Collinsworth said that he was lined up as a slot receiver, and he was right.
Yeah, they brought the referee in, the ref analyst in. I forget who was doing it last night.
McCauley? I don't know.
But they brought the ref analyst in. He's like, yeah, like, this guy's clearly not on the line of scrimmage. This is clearly a false start. Like, I don't know what they're doing. He was saving himself.
Yeah, and that's when it's bad too, because the refs, the in-studio refs, they always support what's going on in the field, no matter if it's the right call or the wrong call. So to get called out like that is bad. But I will also say too, it was painfully obvious when the Chiefs were running and throwing, because if they were throwing, Jawan Taylor was in the backfield, and if they're running, he was up on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so it actually played in favor of the Lions in that regard, but just a really bad reffing performance there. That's terrible. Like, you can't, the studio refs, like, yeah, like, I'm not going down with these guys. These guys are all getting fired tomorrow. Like, the right line judge, whoever's the line judge or the linesman on it, there's one of them, whatever it's called on that side. You should be ashamed of yourself, buddy. You're worse than Kadarius Toney. Anyways, Grant, we've talked about this game long enough. We have a bunch of games this weekend. We have a bunch of lines and spreads and totals and props we're going to talk about. Before we get into that, remember to smash the subscribe button. We have a really cool new thumbnail. The more times you smash the subscribe button, the more cool stuff we get here. So make sure you keep hammering that stuff. And we're going to get into the picks right now. Grant, you can start us off.
Awesome. I'm super excited about this. This is my favorite pick of the week. And you know what? It just so happens to be an underdog money line, but I don't view these guys as underdogs. I think they should be favored, or at least it should be a pick 'em. I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to beat the San Francisco 49ers. I got Steelers money line in this one. The 49ers were awesome on defense last year. Everybody knows that. Gave up the fewest points, second fewest yards per game. Defense is going to be great every single year. But now they're taking on a team in the Steelers who is one of the few teams in the league who can stand up to them when it comes to defense. It's the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Steelers, and then, it's a short list after that. But if you look at what Pittsburgh was able to do last year, yes, they only went 9-8, but they were 8-2 in games when TJ Watt played. 8-2. So they only lost twice. We know Mike Tomlin's yet to have a losing record as a professional coach, of course, at least in the NFL. I have really high hopes for the Steelers. The one thing you can point to them and say that they need to improve in was their offense. I think they were 26th in scoring last season, but they go out, they bring in Allen Robinson the second. That's another playmaker for them. Kenny Pickett, yes, it was the preseason, but he was the best player in the preseason. He only missed 2 passes, had 200 yards, couple touchdowns, scored a touchdown on every drive that he led, and he had a perfect passer rating. Steelers also went 10-6-1 against the spread last season. They get to start this game at home. And one thing that I have been banging the drum about, Brock Purdy, he's Mr. Irrelevant. I don't care what you say about how well he played or his mental understanding of the game. You're not Mr. Irrelevant if you have a bunch of God-given arm talent. The scouts will recognize that, and they will draft you high off of your potential. For him to fall that far in the draft shows he's not the most natural born passer, and he's coming off of a torn UCL. Again, on the road against a menacing defense, great defensive head coach in Mike Tomlin. I think this is a perfect spot to get the Steelers.
Grant, you know what the last quarterback that was taken in the late rounds that didn't have a strong arm did?
I mean, there's been a lot more than Tom Brady, so don't tell me about him.
But the last one was Tom Brady.
No, he was not the last. There have been a lot of quarterbacks drafted in the late rounds.
I'm just saying, Brock Purdy's already done a lot in the NFL. Brock Purdy's on pace to catch Tom Brady. That's what I'll say. More than Mahomes.
Anyway. I'm sick and I can't argue this because you're just trying to get me riled up. That is asinine.
I'm staying in the same game here. I'm actually going to do a prop in this game. I agree. I think the Steelers do win the game, but I like Christian McCaffrey to go over 94.5 rushing plus receiving yards. This number's very low, and it's low because he's facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's usually up to like 115, 120 if he's facing a bad opponent here. But when you look at how they use Christian McCaffrey, they're going to use him over and over and over again. He's going to hit this off pure volume alone. The defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers is absolutely ruthless, but you also have Kyle Shanahan, who's a very good play caller, is going to find ways to open up McCaffrey. I think they're going to run wide zone right behind Trent Williams the entire day, and McCaffrey sees a hole, he's going to hit it. So he's going to get explosive gains. I'm not saying it's going to result in points, but just based off pure volume alone, I think they're going to hand the ball to him a lot. I think they're going to find him in passes out of the backfield. I think they're going to find him in the intermediate to short passing game. So there's a lot of opportunities for him to make plays against this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And just he's that talented. He's going to make plays still. So for 94.5, this is way too low. I'm taking the over.
Yeah, I don't hate this. I mean, McCaffrey rushing plus receiving yards, never a bad bet. I am taking the Steelers, like I said, but it's Christian McCaffrey. The guy can make plays. Did you see the video on Twitter the other day, by the way, of Adley Rutschman tackling Christian McCaffrey in college?
Oh, on the kickoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. I didn't see it yesterday, but I've seen it.
I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know Rutschman. It's pretty interesting how many professional athletes were actually dual or even tri-sport athletes back in the day.
Well, that's why Adley Rutschman's so good at baseball, because he was a good football player. He played football at Division I level. He's not soft.
Are you saying there are baseball players who are soft out there?
I'm saying there are some baseball players who are very soft, yeah. But Adley Rutschman is not one of those guys. And that's why the Birdland is going all the way to the ALCS before they get beat by the Houston Astros.
I'm going to a game. I live next to I live like a mile away from a metro station, kind of where I live. But I can take the metro over to Camden Yards, and then it's like a 4-minute walk from the metro to the game. So I'm going to a game when they get in the playoffs.
Yeah, you should. That'd be awesome. I might come down. Maybe we'll do a WSN day. WSN.
Hey,
Ride the line, live show.
I'll show you the hood. I'll show you my neighborhood.
Grant, you know what you need to do?
What?
Make sure Virginia Tech wins this weekend. That's what you got to worry about.
Okay. I mean, we're just all over the place on this show. They're going to win though. Just forget their name. Vanderbilt gave up 39 points to Fresno State. They gave it like 360 yards passing to their quarterback. Like, if I know Tech wasn't great in the first quarter, but I mean, we had an explosive passing game. The people are here for the college stuff, but I think Tech does win that game.
I sure hope so. That's all I'll say, because it was embarrassing in the first quarter last week. Next play.
Yeah, my next play. So I'm going all game sides and Tanner's going all props. So we're just kind of bouncing back and forth here. My next pick is going to be the Seattle Seahawks -4 versus the Los Angeles Rams. I'll admit I'm a little concerned this line is dropping. I think at one point it was 5.5 for the Seahawks. Now it's only 4. And I'm having a hard time understanding why. So again, maybe it worries me. The odds makers are picking up on something that I'm missing, but Cooper Kupp not going to play, probably going to be out for a few weeks. Matthew Stafford coming off of a litany of injuries. Aaron Donald just had the worst season of his professional career. Bobby Wagner's gone. Jalen Ramsey's gone. And I mean, talking about Bobby Wagner, he's gone back with the Seahawks now. He's going to be the captain of that defense. The defense was the weak point of the team, but again, they add Wagner. They draft Devin Witherspoon with the top 5 pick. Offense was already explosive enough. Now you bring in Jackson Smith and Jigba to be that slot receiver. Pete Carroll at home, the 12th man. I think the Seahawks get a big win. The Rams just don't have a lot. And I know Matthew Stafford, it was, a top 10, borderline top 5 quarterback at one point, but without Cooper Kupp, he's going to regress. Coming off a bunch of injuries, he's going to regress. The Rams running game was the worst in the league last year. I see this being a huge win for the Seahawks, like double digits damn near.
The only reason I would say the line is dropping is because people don't trust the Seahawks hype coming into this season. Like, it was all over the place last year, but are we going to get the same Geno Smith? I think we will. I think we had a similar result, at least in week 1 against the Rams, because they are not a good football team. Matthew Stafford, he can't communicate with his teammates because they're buried in their phones all day. So I like the Seattle Seahawks, Grant. I think it's a very good play.
Do you think the Seahawks have a chance to win the division this year?
Well, you look at the 49ers offensive line. It's really not that good. Like, Trent Williams is very good, but the rest of it's not great. You lost Mike McGlinchey. That's gonna create a gap on your offensive line for sure. So it depends on the 49ers. I tend to trust Kyle Shanahan. I think he finds ways to win. Very good play caller. He doesn't really need a great quarterback to win. That's what we've seen from him. So I would say they're a short underdog, but they should be an underdog.
Yep, I would agree. I think the 49ers should be atop the power rankings, but I think the Seahawks do have a chance. I'm not gonna say they don't have a chance.
But the more I look at the NFC, like, the AFC is the tough division. The NFC is like a 2-horse race. That's what people are saying. Like, I don't think it is. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are much better than the 49ers.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say it's more than a 2-horse race. I didn't know you were saying it's a 1-horse race.
You can mix the Seahawks in there and stuff, but like, if you look at the odds board, it's a 2-horse race. And I just think the Eagles are much better than the 49ers.
I think 4 teams from the NFC could go to the Super Bowl. Now I'm just gonna put the 4 out there that I think have a chance, no matter how good or bad of a chance that is. Eagles, of course, 49ers, of course, the Cowboys, and the Seahawks. Those are the only 4, I think. Excuse me. Those are the only 4 that I think even have any sort of chance, whether it be a 1% or 100%. Those are the 4.
And then Cowboys losing the divisional round. The Seahawks, I don't know how their defense is going to be. The Eagles, most complete team, and the 49ers are kind of rebuilding with that offensive line. So I don't love any team in the NFC besides the Eagles right now. The more I look at the rosters. But anyways, let's go to future MVP in the XFL quarterback, Sam Howell, over 203.5 passing yards versus the Arizona Cardinals. Future XFL Hall of Fame quarterback, Sam Howell, coming into this game. Jonathan Gannon's the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and he is not a head coach. He's a coordinator. He should not be a head coach in any way whatsoever. The play I love in this game is Sam Howell over 203.5 passing yards. I think this Cardinals team has no leadership under Gannon. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a defense. This line's way too low at 203.5 passing yards. It's only Howell's second start. So Grant, like, you're saying, like, MVP Howell loading, like, no, let's stop that. He's like a fifth round pick. Right, 5th round pick.
I never said he was going to win MVP.
You said MVP season loaded. You said it off camera, but
no, I said every year there's someone who's young and had no respect that makes it into the MVP conversation.
Right. Well, Sam Howell might be in the XFL MVP conversation if he doesn't go over 203.5 passing yards. The Arizona Cardinals ranked 26th last season in defensive real quarterback rating and 31st in defensive passer rating, according to coldhardfootballfacts.com. As you were telling me many times, as you were trying to make it clear that the Commanders were going over their win total, which isn't happening. They have good weapons like Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. So when I see all this, I think this line's way too low based on what Sam Howell did in the Baltimore Ravens preseason game. He can ball. The Arizona Cardinals aren't going to be good. And I don't see them taking him out if they get up by a serious amount because he needs all the work he can get. So over 203.5 passing yards.
I got to be honest. I love this pick. My Commanders fandom aside, for the line to be that low and for the Cardinals defense to be as bad as it is, that's just very disrespectful. It's Eric Bieniemy's, debut in a new situation. He's going to want to, not just for his sake, but for the young guys on the team. He's going to want to build their confidence and bring the best out of them. I think we're going to see a lot of cool plays, a lot of their new concepts that are, Washington hasn't seen for a long time. I think it's going to be a good day for Hal. There's one thing about him, I'm not saying he's going to be good or bad. I'm not going to talk about how consistent he's going to be. But if you look at his tape back from when he was at North Carolina, he's a risk taker. He's going to put air on the ball. And if you're looking at a yards total, that's what you want. You want a guy who's going to put the ball downfield. Sam Howell will do that.
He better. If he ends with the 185, I'm sending him to the XFL. Straight up sending. Grant, you know what's going to happen this weekend? Just saying, because this is the commies. The Cardinals are going to go 1-0 this weekend. They're going to beat the Commanders. You know what's going to happen. I hope not.
So someone sent me an email. I was emailing with somebody about some work stuff, and at the bottom they said, by the way, a lot of people are taking the Commanders for our survivor pick here. Can you talk me out of taking them? I just gave this long response. So it was like 2-3 paragraphs about how the Commanders have the advantage in every way. And I would have set this spread at like 9 or 8.5 points. And then at the bottom, I said, but all I've known my entire life as a Commanders fan is disappointment. So they're probably going to lose. That's how I closed it out.
By the way, just side note, Survivor. I'm in a Survivor League. There are so many people that took the Chiefs last night in Survivor. Are you an idiot?
That's a terrible decision.
Stupidest spot to take a Chiefs play in a Survivor League against the hungry Detroit Lions. Use the Chiefs later in the season when there's a massive mismatch. Like that was stupid. It was a donation. Anyways, Grant.
Who'd you take?
I took Commanders this weekend.
You did.
I did take the Commanders. I like the Commanders. Another play I like the Falcons. Those are my two. And then the Ravens as well.
The Ravens was mine. That's the lock of the week for me.
I'd rather
take value of spread and everything at it. Just a straight money line. The Ravens at home versus the Texans. Give me that.
They'll cover the 10, but like the Commanders too. Like I have to play. I'm taking a little risk because I'd rather use the Ravens later in the season.
But this is the thing, though. People try to stockpile, and I'm not saying that Commanders are a bad pick, but oftentimes people try to get too cute with the picks. Like they try to save their favorites for the end of the year, and then they pick a team they don't like, and they lose, so they never get a chance to use
I do like the Commanders. I will say that, though.
What'd you say?
I like the Commanders.
Oh, yeah. I think it's they should win. Like, seriously. They're better than the Cardinals in every way. The Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon can't even tell us who's playing quarterback. I mean, we found out for ourselves, but yeah, there's just not a whole lot going on.
Joshua Dobbs or whoever is the backup, the second stringer, whatever his name is, forget his name.
It's Josh Dobbs.
No, but the other guy, Clayton Tune. Clayton Tooney. If one of those guys beats the Commanders, I'll tell you what, they should resell the franchise. Grant, next pick.
Yeah, this is my final pick here. I'm going to take the Titans +3 versus the New Orleans Saints. I think there's easily a world in which the Titans win this game. I know that recency bias will have you thinking that the Titans are not very good at football, but guess what? They started last year 7-3 straight up and 8-2 against the spread. Of course, things completely unraveled for them. I think they lost 7 straight games to close out the season. One thing about the Titans, they have the best run defense in the entire league, and they also have arguably the best running offense. At least they have probably the best weapon on offense in the backfield. That's Derrick Henry, of course. Also bringing DeAndre Hopkins in there. Not going to completely change life down there, but it's going to add a new dimension to this offense that they haven't had in a couple of years. And for someone like Ryan Tannehill, not the best quarterback in the world, but if you give him a weapon like that, it's going to help his production, obviously. Now, the Titans did give up more passing yards than every team in the NFL last season, so bit of a dichotomy, best run defense, worst pass defense, so you got to see how that holds up. But Mike Vrabel, I think, is an excellent coach. Dennis Allen is not. He's terrible as head coach, got one of the worst win percentages in NFL history for head coaches. Derek Carr's a reputable quarterback, but it's a new system that he's trying to pick up. And again, the head coaching job over there, not very good. So for the Titans to get the full field goal, we can get a push out of it if they lose by 3, but I think they have a good chance to win straight up. So I'll go Titans +3.
I don't hate it. I wouldn't take this game. I would stay away from it either side, but I don't hate it. I think Derek Carr's got to come out and win the game. If he's able to throw the ball down the field, I don't know if the Titans will stay in the mix in this one, but I do not hate the pick. I would love to see the Titans win the game because I'm going for a Bucs division title. Bucs division title all the way. So I really need the Titans to knock off the Saints this weekend. Also, Mike Evans. I don't know if he'll be in Tampa Bay much longer, but we'll see.
By the way, Chiefs, putting this out there, Chiefs need to go trade for Mike Evans.
They do.
I know it's not what they do, but they have to.
But if you're also the Buccaneers as well, you can't. You got to pay Mike Evans. This guy's a cornerstone of your franchise. You're not going to be bad forever. Like you're in a rebuilding year. Once you get a quarterback, like Mike Evans still could be there for the end of the when they get good again. So it's a tough call, but he does free up like $15 million in cap space if they get rid of Evans. So,
and like the Bill Belichick way, you move off a player a year before you should. I feel like that's what they should be doing with Mike Evans here.
I just bought a Mike Evans creamsicle jersey, and then he started becoming a freaking prima donna on the internet. So like, if he leaves right now, I'm sending the jersey. I'm not wearing it until I know if he's going to be there or not. All right,
Tanner, what's your final pick?
Trevor Lawrence, probably arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game already. Over 258.5 passing yards versus the Colts here. This is a great play, in my opinion. The Colts were 30th in defensive passer rating by coldhardfootballfacts.com last season, 28th in defensive real QBR. They did not get the job done when it came to defending the pass. The unit for the Colts, young all over the field. They don't have a lot of experience. They're young everywhere. I think they're the youngest team in the league. And they were much better against the run last season. So I do think the Colts or the Jaguars will try to attack them through the air. You're adding in Calvin Ridley, the official mascot of FanDuel Sportsbook, into the mix here. So, but just by him being in the mix, he's fast. He can fly over the field. That's another weapon to go along with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram's going to have a huge game here. 258.5, just a little too low. And again, it's a divisional game. Home divisional dogs are always in the mix. So the fact that makes me feel comfortable Trevor Lawrence is going to be in this game for a while trying to win the game. So 258.5 passing yards is the play.
Yeah, I love Trevor Lawrence. And if there's one thing about this Colts defense, yes, they're young, but if there's an area they're thinnest at, it is in the secondary. They really needed Isaiah Rodgers Jr. Senior, and of course he got suspended for gambling, so that significantly hurt them. They're going to be playing a lot of rookies back there, a lot of second-year guys. So that sort of inexperience against this Jags offense, and I've been talking about Calvin Ridley all offseason. I think he's going to be huge for the Jags. So yeah, I would be going with some Jags overs in this one.
Calvin Ridley's the ride the line mascot, Grant. He loves all the promo codes. He loves them.
Come on, don't do that to my guy.
I love him. I'm here for him. I want him to do well. He's one of us. He's one of us. He's just out here placing 10-leg parlays like everyone else.
I took him either. I'm in a 14-team league, so got to keep that in mind. But I took him in either the third or the fourth round of my fantasy draft. I think he's going to have a huge year.
I think he'll be their wide receiver number one. I do think down the stretch. He's
100%.
But anyways, Grant, that was an extra 10 minutes of content for the people today of Ride the Line. The biggest.
Yeah, it was the flu game, Tanner. Brought the best out of me.
Yeah, I mean, we had some fun talks, talked some fantasy, talked about football, Thursday night football picks. It was great. But
it's so nice that football's back.
It is. It's like an event. Like last night I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game. Like this is an event. Like I'm not sitting down to watch a baseball game. Like I'm sitting down to watch an event that I get to bet my hard-earned money on. Like it's awesome. It's great.
And you're the baseball guy on this show. So for you to be saying that.
I like baseball. I do like baseball a lot. I like baseball until we get to like August. And then it's like
at this point in the season, it's like, let's just get to the playoffs.
Yeah. And then preseason football seems good to bet. And it's really not. It's not fun. Like you realize once preseason football rolls around, you realize, oh, baseball sucks. But then once NFL and like once college football comes around, you're like, oh, I hate betting on college kids because 15-point favorites lose outright. And then once regular season NFL comes around, you're like, this is great.
Yeah, 100%. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Like Tanner said, make sure that you have smashed that subscribe button. And Tanner, take us on into the weekend.
That was Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. We're going to see Sam Howell have his greatest game of his NFL career on Sunday, and you can't teach that. See you next time for another show.